Hello, this is Jerry Zremski from the Buffalo News Washington Bureau. I'm coming to you here on Monday once again with a look at the news of the week ahead here in the nation's capital and what I'm going to be doing in terms of the news that really matters most to Buffalo. It's starting out with me writing a story on a Monday, which I don't always do. Typically the pace of our weeks here in Washington is that Monday is often our slowest day because Congress generally doesn't come in until Monday night or Tuesday morning. But today I actually have a story to work on about legislation that the House will probably pass, almost certainly pass this evening. And that is a bill naming Buffalo's new federal courthouse after the late Supreme Court Justice Robert H. Jackson. Jackson was from the Jamestown area. He's an absolutely revered figure in judicial circles, and Congressman Brian Higgins has been pushing for quite some time now to name the new courthouse in Buffalo after him. And finally, it's looking like it's on the cusp of happening. The House will vote on that today. So that legislation looks like it's going to move forward, and the new courthouse in downtown Buffalo will have an official name before too long. Beyond that, I'm also working on a story that I'll be doing tomorrow about some legislation that the House is also taking a look at that involves federal regulation. The bill that's before the House tomorrow would essentially place a hold on all new federal regulation for several years. The argument being that federal regulation gets in the way of job creation and that therefore it's not a good time to be imposing more regulations on employers and so forth all across the country. Well, this is of special import to us, of course, because of the crash of Continental Flight 3407 3 years ago, and because of the legislation that was passed in the wake of that crash. That legislation calls for some pretty serious new federal aviation safety regulations, and they would be really put to a halt by this bill if it were to go forward. So I really do have to do a story about that and take a look at what the bill says, what the families of Continental Flight 3407 have to say about it, etc. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'll be working on a story that I began work on last week about retirees at Bethlehem Steel Corporation who are hoping that the federal government will give them the chance to apply for compensation for some of the illnesses that they've suffered because of the radiation that was left in that facility after the plant's work on the Manhattan Project and nuclear weapons. Now, some Bethlehem workers or retirees and their families have been eligible for quite some time, but only those who worked at the plant up until 1952. The workers are now putting on a push to get that period extended to 1976, which would, of course, cover many, many more workers, including many that are still alive. And therefore, this is a very important, very interesting story, and I'm talking to several of the people who worked in that plant about their situation and why they contend that the radiation that got there through the work on the Manhattan Project in the 40s and early 50s, why the radiation really remained after that point in time. So that's just what I know that I'm doing so far on Monday morning, and given that I know that I'm doing so much this week already, I'm trusting it's going to be a busy week and that I'll have more news stories to write as well. So I hope you'll be reading my stories and reading the rest of the Buffalo News, and I hope you join me next Monday for another update. Thank you very much, and have a good day.